strengthening work for hip extension. We're going to do this laying down onto the floor. A single leg bridge. Although first of all we will just go through the bridge technique with both feet onto the floor, because this is actually a better place to start if you can't tune into the correct muscles with a single leg bridge. So here, feet are hip distance. You're going to screw your feet into the floor. So by that, if you imagine that your feet are pushing down into the floor and then both of them are turning outwards, the heels of your feet then on the inside then lift, turn inwards and up. So it's like you're just trying to screw a screw like into a wall, normally on one side and the opposite way on the other side. So that way we get like a really solid grounding with the legs. Then we're going to tune into your butt cheeks. So as you lift your hips up off the floor, we're creating hip extension. So there, your butt cheeks are squeezing in towards each other. As you lower the hips back down, your butt cheeks slide away from each other. All right, this is more your sit bones. So if you want to have a little feel, place your fingers on the really bony part of your bum, so your sit bones. As you lift up, notice that those points that you're touching come towards each other. As you bring your hips down, imagine that they're sliding away from each other. So in towards each other, feel them sliding away from each other on the way down. And then that stops us from overarching the lower back because the glutes are then doing the work. Sometimes you'll notice your hamstrings working, and of course your biceps femoris is involved in hip extension. So that's one of your hamstrings that runs more centrally down the leg. That's the one that you want to feel working. But if you primarily feel your hamstring working rather than your glutes, then you're not working them as optimally as possible. So feel your butt cheeks squeezing in towards each other on the way down, separating on the way back down. Did I say down instead of up then? Butt cheeks squeezing together on the way up, butt cheeks sliding apart on the way down. The whole time your feet are screwed into the floor, so your knees don't buckle in or spread wide, they remain hip distance, and your belly is engaged the whole time. So even though we find hip extension here, we're not getting spinal extension at the same time. It's just the hips. Hip flexors lengthen on the way up, butt cheeks lengthen on the way down, butt cheeks strengthen on the way up, hip flexors are eccentrically loading on the way down, so we're still using them to help us lower with control. So when we move over into a single leg bridge, feet are going to remain hip distance. I like crossing the ankle over the knee, although this makes it feel a lot more unstable on your hips as you lift in. So if that feels too unstable, a good place to start is just bending the knee and having that in towards the chest. You can straighten the leg here. Often I've noticed that when people do have their leg here, they're using that, they're trying to push that leg up to help lift the other hip up rather than just tuning into that muscle. So relaxing this leg stops that from happening. So you just pick which option works best for you, and then focus on the action of the sit bone on that side. So that's squeezing into the centre on the way up, it's sliding down on the way down, squeezing in on the way up, sliding wider and out on the way down. Again, still screwing the foot into the floor, especially paying attention to the inner edge of the foot as it travels down to the base of the big toe. That's great for maintaining knee stability. So once you've done one side, cross over, do the other. Remember, gluteus maximus, primary muscle that's working. We can always add weight to this movement as well by having weight or a barbell across the hips and doing the same thing. You can raise the shoulders up onto something to do that same action as well, and then getting the hips more level here with where my shoulders are now in that action. That's really good for if you've got a barbell access to you. So yeah, many ways to strengthen your glutes, but that is the basic way, but is the best way to make sure you're tuning into your glutes on both sides first before you add weight and before you add a more complex movement.